So I think this is left as the last problem of the multiple choice because it's testing a skill that is not commonly covered on algebra after you learn it the first time, and that is finding the difference of a perfect square. And what we see here is that there's like a bunch of answer choices here, and they really want to know what's the equivalent form of the equation. And, you know, you could maybe plug in your own values, but that looks like it can definitely take time. And at this point, we're seeing that we're at the end of the test. We don't necessarily want to waste time on that. But let's say that we have a much simpler set of numbers to remind ourselves of this. So let's say that we want to factor 4 minus 16, right? 4x squared minus 16. And then the way this would actually be factored out is easily seeing the square root of 4 and the square root of 16 and the square root of x squared. We'd end up with 2x because that's the perfect square root of 4 and x, and then 4. And if we put a subtraction between the two, and then we rewrite it as 2x plus 4, that rule right there that we just walked through will actually bring us right back to where we started here. And on that same concept, we can apply that to here. What's the perfect square of x? Well, that would just be x. What's the perfect square of a? Well, in this case, it's hard to think of, but it's just the square root of a. And thankfully, the answer choices kind of give us a hint towards that. This is the correct answer. And so what we see is that we just write it as we saw before. We write it as the difference, and then we rewrite that problem where it is simply the sum of the two terms. And that really is what they're testing you on. It's, I think, at the end, just because it's an obscure concept, but it's not a very difficult concept.